In the world of One Piece, swordsmanship or the use of a sword is usually the most common thing that we have actually seen since the beginning of the story. This weapon seems, or swords seem to be the primary usage of a lot of pirates, a lot of navy, a lot of individual in the world of One Piece. But out of all these people that use all of these swords, there's specific people who are considered swordsmen. And out of those swordsmen, there's even a more limited amount of people that are considered the greatest swordsmen or great swordsmen in the world of One Piece. But throughout all of these amazing swordsmen, there's only one that had the epithet of sword god, and that was Ryuma. We are currently in the Wano arc, and there's something that always seems to be brought up when it's coming on to Ryuma. That is a sword god. So today we're going to be talking about what is a sword god in the definition of the story, as well as what that means for Zoro, Mihawk, and a lot of future swordsmen within the world of One Piece. But before we actually start with the video, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please like and subscribe. It will really help me out and I would really appreciate it. And I should have done this in one of my previous videos, but for all the people that have subscribed to my channel, guys, I'm so thankful for you. You're making my dreams come true, and I really, really appreciate you guys. I'm going to give you guys a shout out in my next video, name by name, but like I said, thank you. You're really making my dreams come true, and I really appreciate you. But let's get on with the video. Now, what is a sword god? We haven't really got a definition within the story, but a sword god seems to be something that will be very prevalent and relevant within this arc as well as the future arcs to come. And what that means for Zoro and what that means for Mihawk and every single swordsman that these two will end up fighting in the near future. What is a sword god to me? Well, in my opinion, I feel like a sword god has to be a person without any rival with the blade. Not only can he beat every single person with the blade with one strike or one blow if it connects, but he is the person that is able to control any sort of blade to bend to his will. So for example, in Zoro's case, he's able, when we first saw Zoro with Kitetsu, he said that it was a problem child. Throughout the arcs and throughout the story, Zoro was able to control the Kitetsu. And the same thing with Enma. He's having the same little issue with Enma, but in a higher scale, where Enma wants to absorb the amount of haki or to actually dry him out of his haki like an empty husk, and he has to learn how to tame Enma. So a sword god, I feel, not only has to be extremely in-depth or extremely adept with the blade, but he has to know how to control a blade or a spirit of a blade. Not only that, there's a lot of things that I feel that go into it as well. Like if a person has Conqueror's Haki. In one of the most recent chapters within the Wano arc, we see that Zoro is confirmed to have Conqueror's Haki. And I feel like a sword god will have to control that sort of Conqueror's Haki and to be superior to every single sort of swordsman within his rank. So I would say like somebody like Mihawk, as we know, he is considered one of the greatest swordsmen or the strongest swordsman within the world of One Piece. But in one of Oda's earlier SBS there, he sort of said that Mihawk had a rival in Shanks and wasn't able to completely surpass Shanks. Not only that, he said that Vista, commander on the Whitebeard Pirates, he was about the same skill level as Mihawk. They didn't say that Vista was as strong as Mihawk, but they did say they have the same skill level. But in terms of a sword god, I feel like that would mean that you have to surpass every single person, and you have to be stronger than every single swordsman that you have encountered. And that is when Zoro comes into play. One of the things that was mentioned in one of the SBS or the Vero cards was that Mihawk is looking for a rival that is stronger than even Shanks. And that is what I think Oda is sort of implying, that towards the ending of this series, Zoro is going to end up becoming stronger than Shanks. But how does the Sword God and Zoro sort of fit? Well, ever since the beginning of One Piece, every single time that we've seen one of Zoro's fight, he's always struggled, always clashes with a few people that are wielding blades. But Oda always makes Zoro do something that I feel that is very prevalent or very important to the story. And that is the final blow of Zoro's enemies. Every single time that Zoro has a final blow with his enemies, Zoro always hits them or beats them with one hit. He always manages to beat every single one of his opponents with one hit, one strong, direct hit. And that's something that Oda sort of pans out every single time. But it would be interesting if that is what it takes for a sword god. That at the end of the day, you can clash with another swordsman, but as long as you beat them with one slash or with one move, that builds you up and that makes you stronger as a sword god. But let's go back to the topic with Mihawk. Mihawk, as we know, is the strongest swordsman, but his epithet does not consider him a sword god. And it's kind of weird that Oda is mentioning Ryuma, and every single time he mentions Ryuma as the sword god. That there was nobody that could beat him or outdo him with the blade. And that's something that sort of doesn't tie in with Mihawk, which is weird, and I feel like it has to do with something more important that we're going to end up finding out in the future. But that's something that we end up finding out in the future, I honestly feel is very important, and that is why Zoro will be considered the sword god, and Mihawk won't ever have that epithet as the sword god. But the sword god, that epithet, it seems like there's something specific with that. In one of my previous videos, I did say that there's a possibility that Ryuma is a sort of reincarnation of the sword god, as well as Zoro being a reincarnation of a sword god as well. That this will of a sword god is something that we shouldn't take lightly. That is going to be very important because this is something that needs to be talked about. The sword god is something that a person cannot just have, and that is why Zoro at the end of the series will end up having a sword god epithet, but Mihawk or anybody else who is considered a great swordsman at the moment isn't going to have that title. So we're looking at a possibility that Zoro will be 10 times stronger than Mihawk, and that we're going to see something quite amazing out of Zoro within the next few arcs that will sort of solidify that he is the next sword god, as well as being possibly the reincarnation of Ryuma. But like I said, this is something very important, that Zoro constantly taking down people with one strike. I feel like that's something that's going to be expounded on, that's something that is very relevant to the story. At the end of this story, I believe that Zoro will be stronger than Shanks, which would make Luffy even stronger than Shanks. But Shanks is something, or is a line, or a power line that Zoro will end up surpassing at some sort of time. And that Zoro, in the next couple of arcs, we're going to see him be even stronger or as strong as Mihawk. And that's something that's going to be extremely amazing, especially when we're going to be seeing that Zoro is going to be incorporating his moves with Conqueror's Haki and his ability to control Enma and other sort of blades. And if he ends up possibly actually increasing the level of his graded blade. So in this case, if he possibly ends up getting the Nidai Kitetsu and giving back the Sandai Kitetsu, sort of trading it in, or even doing something that also I feel that a sword god, or resides in the strength of a sword god. So what I mean is that Ryuma, when we found out about Ryuma, which when that happened, it was sort of back in Thriller Bark, but it was mentioned that Ryuma was able to take a sword and make it into a black blade, and that was confirmed by Onimaru a long time ago within the Wano arc. But it was mentioned that Ryuma made a black blade, and later on in another video, I have a theory about that, about black blades and about the ranking or the graded swords. But Ryuma making his blade into a black blade means that it's should be something very rare, something that barely can happen to somebody. But due to him possibly having Conqueror's Haki, also having multiple battles with multiple swordsmen and actually winning, it was said that he was able to make his blade into a black blade after so many battles. But I feel like Zoro is going to end up doing the same thing. That unlike Mihawk, who has a black blade, I believe that Yoru was already a black blade. So him wielding Yoru, there's no possible way that would actually tell us how strong he is. But in the case of Zoro, he sort of will end up making, I believe, towards the end of the arc or the end of the series, he will make one of his blades into a black blade. And what this would mean is that this solidifies why he is considered, or he will be considered, as the next sword god. And that sort of falls in with what a sword god really means. And that's having the ability to make a normal blade into a black blade, making it more durable, more sharper, more better, and putting it at a higher rank than it already was. But since the mention of Sword God, I believe that Oda is actually giving us more questions than answers. And those answers are probably going to end up coming sooner than later, because it seems to be something that's going to be very relevant, like I've said multiple times, and very important to Ryuma and to Zoro and to the connection that they have with each other. And that is the epithet Sword God and the will of a Sword God. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. If this is your first time watching my videos, please like and subscribe. It would really help me out. Once you're down there, go ahead and put on the notification bell so you can be warned on any of my future videos. Once again, for all the people who decided to subscribe or will end up subscribing, I really, really appreciate you guys. You guys don't know how happy it actually makes me feel. And I'll catch you guys in the next One Piece video.